Good morning, YouTube. Well, it is for me anyway. And welcome to part 3 of building my sliding router table. It's my intention in this video to finish with a fully functioning router table. So a fair bit to do. That's not going to include the drawers because as per the hardwood edge banding, I intend to go way over the top and do something totally unnecessary. Anyway, at the end of the last video, I left you hanging as to whether I'd hit the sweet spot of getting this table perfectly level with a bandsaw. So let's deal with that first. And as you can see, I've missed my mark by about 1 mil. Not the end of the world, because when I take the cabinet apart to glue it, final assembly, I can slip a little packer underneath my slider, under the baseboard, and we'll take that out. I've got one little issue to deal with before I can move forward, which is the fact that the cable trunking on the back wall is fouling by about 5 mil on this top board. Now, 5 mil, I hear you say, that's not a major issue. No, it's not a major issue. The major issue is the fact that the trunking's about 50 mil deep. So I really want to take out about 52 mil. And now you can see the issue. My hardwood lipping was 30 mil, and I'm going to lose that past the hardwood lipping, which is going to make it look as if I haven't put any hardwood lipping on the back. So, do I then carry on to 77 mil, an extra 25 mil, take out that little bit more, and add another piece of lipping on there? I really don't know. I think the first thing I'm going to do is to just take out the amount I need to allow it to slide back to the wall. And then I can see how it looks, hopefully over my morning coffee. So just dropped the top on, I haven't even clamped it in place, and that's great. That's right back to the wall now, happy with that. And it looks better than I thought it would, although it would look even better with that 25 mil piece of hardwood at the back. It's when you pull it out that it just looks horrible. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to cope with that, seeing that. Well, my sincere apologies. I'm afraid once again Graham's been a bit of a muppet and forgot to pay attention to the state of the charger, the batteries on this wireless mic. The only bit that you've missed is me waffling on about whether I should or shouldn't spend the extra time routing out about 5 mil and letting in some extra hardwood. And as you can clearly see, I've decided that I should. While I've got the top off, I'm going to fit my locking mechanism. I've gone for this simple little sliding bolt affair. Flush fit, so it'll sit like that. And then to begin with, I'm going to go for holes in the base box every 100mm, which I think will be fine. And if I need to get more granular, then I can add holes at 50mm. So this has got to recess into that portion, which means the baseboard's got to come off. So now seems like the appropriate time. Seeing as I had this panel off, it seemed like the appropriate moment to glue it back in, and indeed the rest of the panels. So next steps, a little light sanding on the top, around the edges, knock off that sharp edge, just a little run over with the hand plane I think, and then I'm going to start applying the finish. So as mentioned in part 1, it's going to have a minimum of 3 coats of Polyvine extra super duper superbly hard wearing floor varnish, maybe more on the top, but I want to get that on first before I cut the plate in so that I don't get any on the plate or into the plate recess. Apologies for the camera angle, but it's the best I can do under the current circumstances. So, time to drill the hole for the dust extraction. I'm going to use this plate to connect my hose to. Same plate I had on the last table. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but function over form. So the next little job I want to tackle is the support legs at the front. Now, I've not mentioned this very much at all. In fact, I'm wondering whether I've mentioned it at all so far. What I was concerned about during the design phase of this was when I'm at full extension, the bounce that's going to be in it. Now, there's not a huge amount, but I don't want any. So the idea is essentially to make a U-shaped frame, same width as the base. One of the reasons the base is so thick, that will come up here, go right across the front, and it'll have a couple of rollers in the bottom. And then when I pull this out, that will take out the bounce. And that's all it's supposed to do. Its one job in life is to remove that bounce. The little bit of side movement that's in the rollers disappears as soon as the lock's engaged. So this will be my final stability aid support. But I've made a little cock up. When I took the base off to jack up that little bit, put it back on again, I swore blind I pushed these all the way back, and I didn't. So I've got this tiny little lip here that I'm going to have to just route the back of this piece out just to go around. I'm really annoyed about that, but Muppet is as Muppet does sometimes. So in order to get maximum strength around that joint area where the vertical meets the horizontal, I'm going to laminate it. So I'm going to cut an 11mm, a 12mm and an 11mm piece, sandwich the 12mm piece in the middle, and on the first piece the vertical will be long and the horizontal will be short. On the second piece the horizontal will be long, vertical will be short, and then the third piece will be the same as the first piece. So I've cut myself a former, as you can see, so that I can clamp to it, around it, and also ensure that I get this perfectly square. I've put some masking tape around it and underneath the base piece, so I can avoid sticking it to the bench. And then, as mentioned earlier, the base piece has the vertical side long, or the vertical piece long, so that extends up to the top, and then the piece that goes over it will have this horizontal piece long, so I get the sandwich effect on the corner. Maximum glue area, the idea being maximum strength. I need a bit of clearance between the leg and the floor, so I'm going to use this ruler. It's 2.3mm apparently. That should be plenty. I'll try that first and then extend the table fully and make sure I haven't got an imbalance that's going to cause a binding. And these are the tiny little rollers that I've managed to find. Knowing that that's the top of the ruler, so I need to take out the depth of the ruler, try it out here at full extension, and see what the difference is. So I'd have to let it in more at full extension, but that's the amount of flex in it. So I'm inclined to go with that bottom line on both, yeah. And that way there'll be that little bit of pressure on them out at full extension. And if I need to sink it back down a little more, well, that's much easier than packing it up. I've got the piece clamped in the bench and level with the top of the bench so that I can use that as extra support for the router. So I'm going to glue this to the underside of the cabinet. Then I'm going to put some screws down in here because that'll be covered with the tilt and drawer assembly. And then I think I'm also going to glue and screw a block under here, the full depth of this, just to give it a little more support against the twisting or the tilting that it's going to want to do as the rollers engage. So I'm just treble checking to make sure I've got the positioning of this template right. The template and this supporting ring come from Woodworker's Workshop, made by Oak Tools. Lovely little kit. You can buy just this template, or the template and the metal plate, or the template, the metal plate, and an appropriate round bit to go with it. Look at that. Beautiful fit. One more hole in the back of the cabinet for the power lead to come out for the router. Gonna have to make some kind of grommet to go on this. but it's not a pressing issue for now. I've had to make a really large hole because of the socket type on the end of the plug, which I didn't have before because this is a new router. This is the 𝒙𝒐𝒏𝒔 router. It's a quick test power up before I screw everything in place, including the box, because I've got to drill a couple of holes in the back. The bracket supplied with it doesn't suit me, so here goes. Beautiful sounding router. Will it reach? Will it reach? Beautiful. But some cable tidying is required. And finally, my fence. This is a pretty simple affair by virtue of the fact I'm using the Incra positioner. So all I need to do really is make sure I've got this way sorted. And for me, in this installation, the positioner bracket clamp itself is going right to the back of the table, which means at maximum throw, I can just cover the bit so I can use it in place without having to move the table. But I'm also going to get max travel on the fence, and this is all with the Wonder Fence in, so if I want that little bit more, I can take the Wonder Fence off. Well, it's finally time for the first ever test cut on the new sliding router table. Excited or no? Well, the cut itself was a little underwhelming, I'll give you that, but the point being, it's working. Fence installed, router installed, electrics, extraction, no door, but I did say right at the beginning, I'm not doing doors and drawers. I'm going to approach that in a completely different video, but the build is essentially done. I can use the router table, no fiddling about. Slides right to the back, absolutely chuffed to bits. I can get maximum range on the fence, and when I'm out here, I'm absolutely solid. I do hope you've enjoyed joining me on this journey and watching me make this fantastic addition to my workshop. I can't wait to start using it proper, and now I'm really excited to continue with the rest of the back wall. I hope you'll join me for that. Thanks very much for watching, and see you next time. Ta-ra.